Imagine nature is like a flow. It's like a river. It's constantly flowing and it's never ending. And if there would be no problem, nothing that's standing in the way, then what's naturally there is love, it's joy, it's nature by itself. If there would be no illusion of separateness in nature, then what would be naturally there is love. That's the nature of nature. So, and also in your true nature is not separate from that. So if there would be no illusion of separateness, then what would be naturally there is love and openness and joy. Now, what happens if there is a blockage in this flow? A blockage in the flow of life is called an emotion. So your true nature is love and openness, but love is not an emotion. Love is what remains when there is no emotion. So, and I'm not talking about being numb, having no emotions. Being numb is not the absence of emotions. It's when you have so much emotion that you are not able to process it, and you're not really willing to look at those emotions that are there. So you as a defense mechanism, you just become numb. So but that's not the absence of emotion. That's actually having too many emotions, so much so that you are not able to really be aware of emotions at all. When there is no resistance anymore, then automatically what's going to be there is a natural flow of life, and there is no emotion anymore, but instead there is just joy and love, and those things are not emotions. So, and the question is how to get there, because people are suffering on an emotional, mental level. You cannot separate the mental and emotional level. They are one. People are suffering, and it makes their lives worse, and it's hard to live as a emotional human being. Everything could trigger your emotions and could make you reactive. And I've received some comments of people who are asking, when will the day come when I will no longer be reactive? And it's a process, but your true nature is already here, and the healing begins in the recognition of your true self. Because we have been raised by people who are already blocked, so we have this image that this is normal. So, and if we want to overcome this lifestyle in which we are constantly feeling like something is standing in our way, there's like an emotion there, it's a resistance, it's a blockage there, and we cannot really flow. If we want to overcome this, we have to really investigate the nature of who we truly are. So the path goes like this: you ask yourself, who am I? And you really have to be honest with your answer. You just because a spiritual teacher told you that consciousness is open and transparent like a space doesn't mean that your assumption that I is in the head is wrong. If you ask yourself genuinely, who am I, where can I feel my I, and you can feel your sense of I in the head, doesn't mean that that's a wrong answer. That simply means that you should stay with that feeling that you are in the head. Because what happened to me is that I've heard a spiritual teacher say that consciousness is open and spacious, but when I was asking myself, who am I, then I wasn't feeling that open spaciousness. I was feeling a center in the head, and therefore I thought that feeling was wrong. But now I'm trying to tell you that feeling is not wrong, because you can only see through the illusion that you are a center in the head if you're really investigating it. So if you're asking yourself, who am I? And you feel a center in the head, then you should really feel that I, feel yourself as that center in the head and be with it. And only if you can rest as that and accept it without questioning it, without telling it that it's wrong, that it should be transformed, and you can really be as yourself where you feel yourself, then what happens is that it can automatically dissolve or expand, or it simply becomes clear that you are not really that feeling of the center. You start to disidentify with that feeling of I. And what remains is an open awareness. But you cannot force yourself to realize that you are this open awareness. So you cannot really push that process. You have to continuously ask yourself, who am I? And instead of trying to find the right answer, find what's real for you in your experience. Where do you feel yourself? So the first thing that's going to happen on this path is that you are feeling yourself probably as something that resides in the head. And then don't question it, but reside in your head as what you feel yourself to be, this I in the head or in the chest perhaps. So you remain there, and automatically you're not trying to change it. But you stay with it. You know, some people are trying to get to the right answer immediately, because a spiritual teacher told them what it's supposed to feel like. So once they are feeling something that is not really what the teacher is saying, then they treat it as if it's wrong. But just be with your own experience and don't treat it as if it's wrong. Be with your experience of who you are. And when you feel that you are in the chest, let's say you're in the chest, then be as that, stay as that. And don't say that it's wrong, because if you're trying to say, no, I'm not really in the chest, I should find consciousness, I'm not in the head, I'm not the center in the head, but secretly you do feel yourself in the head, but you don't want it to be true because the spiritual teachers told you that it shouldn't be in the head, then you're still trying to find consciousness somewhere else. But you have to ask yourself, who am I really in your direct experience? If you do feel yourself to be in the head, then stay as that, because that's the thing that feels most like you. So stay as that. And only by doing that, not by denying it, but only by confronting it, you can recognize that awareness is spaciousness. Not by denying that you're feeling your center to be in the head. So you have to confront it. So the second thing is it will happen automatically over time. You cannot force this process, just abide as yourself, and at some point you will recognize that actually it was just a sensation, it was just a feeling, it was coming and going. Sometimes I feel my center in the head, sometimes I feel my center in an emotion, sometimes I feel it like a presence out here. You see that it's changing, and then over time you recognize that even though the center that feels like me is changing, I'm always here. And that's when you start to question, wait, where am I really? And then you won't find the center. Then you won't find me that you can hold on to, but you are always here. And then it becomes clear that whatever's happening in experience, you're always here. You are always the presence that is pervading your whole experience. Actually, wherever you are, whatever the experience is, you're always one with whatever is experienced. It's like what Rupert Spira is sometimes talking about, that the screen can never be separate from whatever is appearing on the screen. So when you recognize yourself as this open, transparent awareness that you can only really realize when you are really investigating the sense of I, no matter what it feels like right now, even if it feels like a center, only when you are realizing yourself as that open awareness, you can see that actually meditation is nothing other than just being with whatever's appearing and knowing that you're not something that happens in those appearances. It's like you are the blockage of life. you as the identified separate self. When you have realized yourself as the pure self, you'll see that there is no separate self, really. The separate self consists of emotions and thoughts. It's not a separate self like a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a noun. It's a verb. It's a constant flow that feels vulnerable, but it's not really a self. It's like an emotional space that feels vulnerable, but it's not a self. This vulnerable space of emotions and thoughts is happening within awareness, which is you. And so meditation does not mean that you have to go away from those thoughts and feelings, but instead it means that you know that you are not thoughts and feelings, and therefore you can fully allow them. So you're not involved in this horrific movie of me, but you're looking at it and you're allowing it, and therefore what happens is a process of cleaning. The system is cleaning itself. It's washing out the sense of suffering, the sense of me, the sense of separation, because you're no longer someone that is in the movie, but you're outside of the movie and looking at it. But it doesn't mean that you are dissociating, because the one that's dissociating is still in the movie, playing the one that's dissociating. But you're really seeing that awareness is here, but it's never touched. It's Shiva looking at Shakti. And the best way to get there is to really investigate who you are right now. When you are watching this video, or when somebody's hurting your feelings, that's when you can really feel the sense of I very clearly, because when you are hurt, when you're emotionally hurt, then it's always about you. You have been emotionally hurt, and it's dramatic and it feels painful. And why did he do this to me? Why did she do this to me? Me. Ask yourself, who am I that is hurt? And go to the sense of I, and maybe it's here, maybe it's in the chest, maybe go to the sense that I'm here, and stay there. And then there might be a thought that says, but this spiritual teacher told me that I cannot be here because he said that I'm open, spacious awareness, so I cannot be this. And therefore you doubt that you are here, and you're denying that you feel yourself as this center, and then you keep looking for the true you. Don't listen to that thought that wants you to go away of the sense of I, even if it feels like it's in the center of the head, because only if you really investigate and abide as that center that feels like you, can this sense of I really dissolve into this open, spacious nothingness. So, and that's all that needs to happen to recognize that whatever happens, I'm internally still. There's something in me that's essential to me, that's really who I am. And no matter what happens in the field of experience, it's always still. So, and when you see that you are the stillness, then that means that you are allowing nature to flow as it wants to flow, because you're no longer part of nature. If we want to say, we could even say that you are nature, but the wholeness of nature, not just a little part in nature that is trying to control how it's supposed to be. But you're like the screen on which the movie of nature appears, and when you're no longer seeing yourself as part of the flow of nature, then you can really allow it to flow as it wants to flow. And you will see that when you are just watching, effortlessly, you allow it to flow, you allow the emotions to come up, you allow the mental stories to be there, then that's a natural cleansing there will be a natural cleansing, and you will be free. And that's the process of time. Enlightenment itself, the recognition of who you are, always happens now or never. But what's going to happen afterwards, which is the washing away of all these painful old emotions, that's something that happens in time. And then you will see that nature, if there would be no resistance, no identification, is always loving. If there is a sense of joy. If there would be no interference in the way of nature, there would be love and joy and openness. So, and this is an invitation to you to recognize that.